in the first presentation, they talked shortly about greenwashing. Well, the next 15 minutes, we are going to tell you something about ecolabels. First of all, we'd like to start with a video. It's a video made by Basta. I suppose everyone knows the television program Basta. If there's anyone who doesn't know the program, please raise your hand. No one? All right, let's have a look.
De truc bij uitstek om je groener voor te doen dan je bent, is een groen label. Als bedrijf kan je wachten tot een officiële instantie je voor je milieuvriendelijke werk beloont met een officieel label, maar veel gemakkelijker is er zelf gewoon in verzinnen. Als bedrijven dat mogen, dan mogen wij dat ook. Meneer, u bent precies op tijd om de uitlegronde hasjes te beginnen over de Pentura. Dat is een milieuvriendelijke verf. U kent Pentura toevallig?
Nee, meneer.
Heeft u nog nooit van Pentura gehoord? Het is een milieuvriendelijke verf met een no seal seal. Het zeehondenvrij label. Wat wil dat zeggen? Dat er in Pentura niks van zeehonden en zeehondenpuppies zit. Kijk eens. U kent waarschijnlijk de vreselijke beelden van andere zeehonden.
Het is een ecologisch alternatief, een nieuw groen product op de markt. Het is ecologisch omdat het nog verschillende leven. De doos bestaat uit 90% gerecycleerd karton. Dus in de eigen producenten dat aanbiedt. Er zit een brandkrachtig bloedverdunder in. En het bloed komt eigenlijk uit de poriën van het diertje naar buiten. Dus dat is een doodstrijd die kan 2-3 uur duren. Omdat dat zo'n pijnlijke dood is, hebben wij ons product niet getest op dieren. Omdat wij dat verschrikkelijk vinden natuurlijk.
Ideaal, hè?
Gewoon de dosis verdrievoudig. En dat kun je natuurlijk extracteren, zonnebrandfolie, lindebloesemextract, aloe vera, jasmijn en kamperfolie. Natuurlijk, het blijft vergif. Je ziet hier ook, er zit heel veel strychnine in.
Als Pentura bieden wij natuurlijk als enige het CO aan om ons eigen label op te zetten, gaan het nergens anders zien.
In een jaar of 2 zoek ik te verven. En dan heb ik er zeker in een uitzien.
Als ik echt dan heb en ik moet ze verwerven, dan zou ik niet kopen in plaats van een niet genoeg.
Dat is een beetje een bijdrage, hè? Ja, als iedereen zo op bepaalde kleine dingetjes bijdraagt.
Hoeveel duur is het?
Het scheelt 2 eurotjes. Het is 9 euro en het andere is 6,5 of 7 euro.
Dat is van echt wel groot.
Dankjewel. Dankjewel.
Het is toch altijd beter dat het ecologisch is, hè? Want er is onze groot vergif.
Wat we wel eerlijk bij zijn, het kan sporen van panna opvangen. Dat kunnen we momenteel nog niet garanderen, de technologie staat ook nog zo ver niet, maar we zijn er wel aan het werken. Dus geen zeehonden, het kan sporen van panda bevatten. Dat zeggen we eerlijk.
Altijd en panda zit daarin verwerkt, maar ik versta ook wel dat er stadia's bij mogen en dat dat niet allemaal in één keer niet haalbaar is.
Zo is het dan ecologisch. Dat is een lief alleen. Het is toch vergif, hè?
Ja, dat is vergif. En die dieren sterven een heel pijnlijke dood, maar het is ecologisch om het eigenlijk duurder te kunnen verkopen.
Mensen zijn met ecologie bezig, dus dat zal veel mensen ook wel aanzetten tot dat product te kopen.
Alright, why did we show this video? Well, the reason we used this video is because we wanted to prove how convincing ecolabels can be and how misleading they can be. We also wanted to prove to all of you that people are really willing to pay more for an ecolabeled product than for a similar product without the ecolabel. But are these ecolabels as good for the environment as they claim to be? Well, my team members and I, we looked a bit more critical to ecolabels and checked if ecolabeled products are really good for the environment. For this presentation, we looked closer to some specific products that claim to be eco-friendly, and we investigated if these products are really eco-friendly or not.
Today we're going to discuss Samsung. We will try to find an answer on the question, is Samsung really a green company or is it just eco-pretending, which means it pretends to be eco-friendly? A few years ago this TV received the European Eco-label, better known as the European Eco-phone that you see over there. It received those Eco-label because it fulfilled all necessary criteria. So what is the difference between an eco-labeled television and another television? That are the following facts. So an eco-labeled television contains only a little bit chemicals that are harmful to the environment and to our health. Eco-labeled television also uses as little energy as possible. It also contributes less to the greenhouse effect than another television. A company that produces eco-labeled television must also take back all electronic waste, that's also known as the take back duty, and the company must give a guarantee for 2 years. Another important fact that made us really believe that Samsung tries hard to contribute to the environment is the fact that recently all criteria have been revised. And Samsung was one of the first companies that fulfilled all new criteria.
But what this European Eco-label stands for? The European Eco-label is organized by the European Commission, who recognizes environmentally goods and services by awarding them a distinctive and easily recognizable symbol of environmental quality, the floral. It helps consumers to easily identify green products. When we try to find out what the general criteria are, we noticed that there are different criteria that depend on the category of the product. Once the category is defined, they have a closer look to the life cycle of the product. The label is voluntary and open to all kinds of products and services, except for food, drink, pharmaceutical and medical devices. Every company who wants to provide a product with an eco-label has to pay an annual fee up to €1,500.
Julie just told you about the TV of Samsung. Well, Samsung does have another eco-friendly product. It's a cell phone called the Reclaim. I don't know, is there anyone here who has this cell phone? No green persons at all in this room. Well, we took a look to the site of Samsung to find out why this cell phone would be better to the environment than other cell phones. A list of arguments was mentioned, and we selected the principal ones. First of all, the cell phone is made from 80% recyclable materials. Secondly, to make the phone, they used bioplastic derived from corn. Samsung also replaced the paper manual by a virtual manual in order to save some trees. The phone's charger meets the highest energy efficiency standards and comes up with a visual indicator of when the phone is fully charged. The outer packing of the cell phone is made from 70% recycled materials. And last but not least, the most convincing argument, I suppose, is the fact that the cell phone is free of polyvinyl chlorides and brominated flame retardants, which are both harmful additives.
But are all these environmentally friendly qualities as credible as they look like? We had a closer look and we found some contradictions. First of all, Samsung claims that they only use recyclable materials, but don't refuse recyclable with recycled materials. A lot of used cell phones just end up in poor countries like Africa. Another contradiction is that Samsung wants to try being good for the environment by making cell phones. Everyone knows that cell phones are made from toxic materials, so there will be always business and technical limitation to create a cell phone that is good for the environment. What we also noticed is that Samsung doesn't use a universal charger. So when people want to buy a new cell phone, they are always required to buy a new charger. So Samsung tries to sell as much as it can, even if the junkyard becomes bigger and bigger. Recently, Samsung was even involved in a scandal. A lot of newspapers published an article about called How Samsung and Other Giants Break China's Pollution Rules. So Samsung didn't even manage to obey the most basic environmental regulation in China. So it's obvious that Samsung only wants to clear their conscience by saying that they are good for the environment, but in reality, they don't. So Bert will tell you something more about Samsung, that they also break their own promises.
In 2010, Greenpeace made a strong statement. They said that Samsung's promises are as thin as their TVs, which, as we know, is quite thin. But why did they say that? To know the answer on that question, we need to go back a little bit in time to 2006, where Samsung made a promise. They promised that by the 1st of January 2010, all their electronic devices would be free of BFRs and PVCs, those harmful additives found conventional. At first, everything seems okay, and it seems that Samsung is going to make its promise, because in 2009 they launched 2 green phones. One of them is the Replay, which Famke discussed. The other one is the Blue Earth, which has the same specification, is also free of BFRs and PVCs, and also has a little solar panel in front for charging. But when the deadline comes, Samsung doesn't come up to its promise. So Greenpeace is not amused. And in March 2010, Greenpeace goes to the Benelux headquarters of Samsung in Brussels and demonstrates. And that is where they make the strong statement that Samsung's promises are as thin as their TVs. But clearly, the demonstration and all the protests has effect. And since April 2010, all Samsung cell phones are free from those harmful additives, BFRs and PVCs. And they also, in March 2010, make new promises. They promise that by 2012, all their notebooks will also be free of those harmful additives. But there is little difference between the promises of 2006 and the promises of 2010. Because in 2006, they said that all their electronic devices would be free from those harmful, from PVCs and BFRs. But in 2010, they don't mention anything about TVs and they don't mention anything about household appliances. So the promise is much weaker. As a result of that, Greenpeace launches every 6 months a guide to greener electronics, and on that guide, they drop approximately 2 points, which is a lot because it's the biggest drop almost ever.
Today we gave you some more information about eco-labels and about Samsung. But this little research about Samsung proved the fact that eco-labels aren't only used as a marketing tool, but are also abused. That's why we will discuss following question in our paper: how to make eco-labels more effective.
To end our presentation, I want to give you a little example to show you that you really have to be critical always. I guess everyone knows Ben & Jerry's because they make such delicious ice cream. In 2003, they claimed that they are totally environmental neutral, that they are ecological neutral, so that they don't produce any carbon gases. Well, how do they do that? Well, first, they've built a lot of windmills for their electricity. They also look for the most ecological ways of transportation. For example, they will never transport any goods by plane because it's so polluting. They even came up with special food for their cows, so their cows would produce less methane gas, which methane gas is a lot more polluting than carbon dioxide gas. They also bought better freezers who are more energy efficient. And you can also see that on top of the pie chart there's a little yellow strip of 6%, and that's the 6% where they count on you. They say that they want you to regularly defrost your freezer. Now I want to ask you a question. Who does that? More than I thought. But still, a minority. So they want you to regularly defrost your freezer so you could save up to 30% of energy and they could meet their climate goals. It's just something to think about. Thank you for that.